Hello, Omniverse. I am Joe Bear,
I'm Zach,
And I'm Diego.
and this is Behind the Beard.
or lack thereof.
And today we are continuing our news series about communication. We learned from our conversation last week about extreme ownership and how to turn this into applying it to our customers, whatever level our customer is at. In today's day and age, customers demand more than ever in their experience. It needs to be effortless and with a smile, especially. And we're seeing a trend with customers looking at connectedness to add into this effortless pathway post-pandemic. And here we're going to talk through how do we make it effortless? How do we provide that connectedness with our customers?
All right, but before we go into that, it's almost the end of the year, holidays are coming and all that kind of stuff. Have you noticed all the different types of ugly sweaters that are now available? Like there's like sports, any brand that you like makes their own or whatever. Everybody's coming up with ugly sweaters. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel that are they still ugly then? Like, as if it's a trend, is it that the thing? That would be I love them. Like, I've always loved them for the holidays, but I feel there's like this push of like looking bold is like the new thing. Like, don't wear normal colors, as we're all just wearing kind of boring things.
I see it both ways, but I think it's really just a cash grab. To me, it's okay. You mentioned sports, Diego, and I have seen those in the stores, and I'm like, it just kind of looks like your normal gear, but made like a Christmas sweater. It's like you're trying to sell me an ugly sweater on top of it of the jersey I already have. I don't know. It doesn't seem like what it was truly meant to be was find like your granddad's 1940s sweater that was hip and fly at the time and is now like, what is that monstrosity? It's so awesome. I need to wear it to a party.
Ooh, so does that mean like the ones that we're wearing now are going to be worn by our great children like 60, 70 years from now?
Not with fast fashion. They're not lasting that long.
Well, then the trends recycle, so who knows? And then the other point is the price point for these things, like hideous and ugly, and you're dropping like you go to look because you're invited to a party or you're attending Chris Mahana Kwanzaa in a couple weeks, needing an ugly sweater, wink wink, nudge nudge, and you're like, I need an ugly sweater, and you're on Amazon or wherever trying to get a great customer experience, and it's like $50-$60 just for one event. I'm like, man, I guess I have to try to find a bunch of parties to attend this year.
You look at the ROI on that. It's like $60 for 2-3 hours of wear time, maybe 8 hours if you stretch it out the whole day. But I mean, really, we're focused in on that Chris Mahana Kwanzaa show off stage, and it's only an hour and a half. $60, $70, $80 for the really cool ones. What's that ROI?
Yeah, I know.
Just for the gram, I guess. Just for the pic. Try to go trending.
Got to do it. You got to
be
hot.
How many likes are you gonna? Yeah, how many likes are you gonna get? That's the real ROI.
I mean, are you gonna go viral? Is it gonna be the next? Do you use the same spoon for raw or cooked meat?
Ooh. So the trend on TikTok, I think, is came up clear is are you cleaning your utensil as you're cooking? You touch the raw chicken. And do you flip it and then do you wash the utensil and then come back, or does the utensil cook right alongside with? I've never thought about this before.
I didn't know it was even like an argument. I didn't know that there were people who are literally cooking, stopping the show to go and clean a utensil. If it's that bad, then just go grab a new one unless you're really short and that was like your favorite spoon. I know we all have a favorite spatula, but come on, that's not good use of my time.
Have two of them, one next to the other, and then just like, use this one.
Oh, everything's cooked. On to the next.
Back in the day, I spent some time in the kitchens and restaurants, and we didn't switch from prep and cooked and or prepping into cooking. It's you wipe it off with a towel and it's clean, right?
Question mark. I do get the difference in like servingware, right? Like if you're cooking and then you're like having a gathering and you have something to get the tongs out or whatever, but different utensils while cooking, that's just
Who's
That's
got time
absurd.
for all those dishes? That's what I want to know. Who's got the time for that kind of dish? Yeah, I
No.
don't. We probably need a hot take to come back on this one onto btb@oiteam.com. Let us know, are you switching utensils, or is that the most absurd thing you've ever heard of? I think it's absurd.
You know, I was thinking as we struggled with the BTB last week and really kind of what it is about. We're like the Omni boy band, if you think about it. Like there's BTS, there's Backstreet Boys, like BTB. It's where it's at.
I think we need to start coming up with the dance routine that we bring in every time. I think it's sold, it's done. We need music. I know we got an intro theme, but maybe it needs to be more poppy instead of rocky. I don't know. Zach, you're in charge of that.
I mean, just a thought, right? I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll be opening up for the World Cup show one day.
Ooh, World Cup is coming up.
Football. What's the right pronunciation, Joe?
American soccer. That's how we're going with it. Learn my lesson on the fly.
Attempting today.
Not even attempting to go anything around that.
But for you, Diego, I mean, in Guatemala, I mean, it's everywhere, right? Like that's kind of the hype right now.
Yeah, funny because Guatemala's never gone to a World Cup and probably never will, but it's the huge deal right now here. Like every 4 years, everything is World Cup, World Cup. Actually, in Spanish, El Mundial. Like you don't even need to say what sport it is, right? It's just the World Cup. That's it.
I feel when we have a presence, I'm pretty sure. Like I say that because I don't really follow it much, and have a team, and even from like the States, it's not even like a heavily covered. I'm sure there are not, I'm sure we have people that are listening that do follow it, but like media coverage, I don't recall it even seeing much leading up to it, or even in the last time it came around. It's just
it's at the end of Sports Center, get a oh yeah, by the way, United States defeats Wales. That's all we get. Maybe a top 10 play, maybe, but it's so rare anymore. Speaking of rare and things that last forever, I know every now and then, Zach, you like to low budget treat yourself with some wine and Cheez-Its. Did you know Cheez-Its is 100 years old?
Okay, so it's 100 years old, or did you find a 100-year-old Cheez-It?
Ooh, great question.
Well, it's still, I don't want to actually know the answer to that. I mean, I get it. That was just me trying to make a stupid joke, but they've been around and present for 100 years. But, if you ever saw like the documentary, like Super Size Me, like seeing like a fry just stay in form, I almost am worried that a Cheez-It would keep form. Like, I'm not trying to attack you, Cheez-Its. You're delicious and a weakness, but I have a feeling it might stay true to form.
We need this tested. We need some R&D budget, and we need a sanitized laboratory to test this out, and lots and lots of Cheez-Its to make sure that we are running as many scenarios as possible to the longevity and shelf life.
We'll definitely need some wine too.
Yes.
I like you. You're thinking ahead. That's always the great thing about you, Diego. You're thinking ahead of what's next.
And just as a call out, if you have not tried them, the best ones to pair with wine from experience are the Italian 4-cheese Cheez-Its. So it's a little fancy. You get that Italian vibe, on that wine language, and you might destroy a whole box, speaking from experience.
Italian referenced wines with your Italian referenced Cheez-Its, then it's already super fancy. Like, did you know Cheez-Its are 100 years old? It's vintage, aged.
Like, you can just do like a Cheez-It charcuterie board. There you go. Who needs crackers and cheese when you got different kinds of Cheez-Its?
I think you just spelled out my Friday night. I'm down. I'm in. Yeah, the girls are going to love it. Cheez-Its charcuterie board. I think everyone can get down on that.
Yeah,
it would be an effortless experience. I think it would appease to all the masses. And as we talk about effortless experience here, I want to talk about how do we engage our customers through our effortless experience? How do we communicate with our customers to, last 100 years, to protect the brand of our customers and to delight our customers themselves? Just kind of think of this in just one synopsis of where we're headed here. Customers don't just want to be delighted. It's awesome, but that's not the only place. They want an effortless experience when things go wrong. I think we can all agree that I just want my product to work. I don't want to call into customer service. That's probably the last option that I would have. I'm going to go to your website. I'm going to try to figure out my own problem. I'm going to give your chatbot a test. I'm going to, explore Google. I'm going to find a forum, a YouTube video, you name it. I'm going to try to solve my problem first because I know I'm going to be able to solve it probably faster than waiting on hold with an IVR for 45 minutes with 11 options to get through there. And what if I choose the wrong one? Then I'm going to be transferred to another department. I just want it to be simple. I just want it to be effortless to get my problem resolved itself. And so as we think about how our communications really impact this effortless experience, I know it's really important on how we deliver it day in and day out, every call. It's low effort for the customer. It's high impact, high resolve that really gets us wow factor going on. As I turn to my last resort of making that phone call, I want to be in control. And when I talk to you on the other line, I want you to smile. I can hear it on the other line. I don't want to be put on hold. I want you to solve the problem at hand and see that there's a future problem there. Now, Zach or Diego, either one of you here, what are your thought pathways of when you call customer service and your experience? What are you expecting when you call in?
Well, I can echo that I do not want to call in at all. So if I'm calling in, I'm probably heated about something. Let's just kind of paint the picture. There's some reason I'm having to call, like you said, Joe. I go to all those avenues. I chat support, I tweet, anything I can to not have to have an interaction, But I expect attention and not having to repeat myself or tons of transfers, from experience going through having to go and almost like a roundabout and you're just looking for that right person. Okay, well, our IVR sent you the wrong person, or I'm going to transfer you now. Oh, I don't have the tools for that system. Let me transfer you now. And then this painless call that you thought it's become like compounded to more and more time. And now, gosh, your day's gone.
I'm always nervous to call customer service because it's usually for troubleshooting, right? And you never really know how it's going to go. Since you don't call that often, you don't know what are they going to say, if they're going to transfer you, like you just said, Zach, how long is it going to take to solve whatever you need fixed.
And how many, what is the actual end result going to be? Like, are you going to have a follow-up? You're going to have to get escalated. Like, that is the anxiety behind it all. Like, I want this issue done and resolved. It better be done by the end of the call. It would sound like awful customers right now, but it's that expectation. I mean, you think about it, maybe you all can relate, but I've always known Hallmark, for example, you go to a store, you go to an interaction, you hear the term Hallmark and you expect the greatness. Like, I've never had a bad interaction, right? They say it in their stores, they say it online, you care enough to send the very best, and they deliver that through interactions. And that's kind of, I hold other companies to that standard just alike.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And it's how we interact on every call, right? I know it's forget the last one, move on to the next one. I've been there. I've taken tens of thousands of phone calls in my career as a frontline agent or contractor, name the game. And with that, you learn that these conversational techniques, we've talked about it before as far as change and leading that conversational change within the customer interaction there, leading you to the end game. I know what your problem is, and I know how to fix it. I've heard this before. I'm not annoyed that you're calling in and it's the 16th call of the same problem. it's to be expected, and that's a bigger case, and that's where I live here in our community itself. We escalate those issues, and it's not just on deaf ears, right? Or it's like, hey, I'm experiencing this. Our network of GBAs brings that communication to light, and it's like, hey, the three of us just took the same type of call, the same issue is happening, and then we can communicate that up, and we can get it over to our clients, and all of a sudden we're working on that resolution to prevent even more calls from coming in there. That's what I expect. I expect that leading charge coming in to be, oh, great, let's take care of this. Let's move forward. I want to delight you with an effortless experience. I don't need the wow factor every single time. Chewy is very well known, chewy.com for animals, for just fantastic above the line customer service of, something happens to your beloved, they'll send you flowers, cards, something in remembrance, and that's huge. Or if something went wrong, and they'll send your pups a treat. It's wow factor, but at the same time, I don't want the wow factor. I just want the product to work, right? And so that's where the communication from the network comes into play, of saying, hey, something within our network and our product is not working really, really well right now, and that's causing these calls to come in. Let's communicate that out. Let's get a fix and resolve, so that way we can stop the bigger issue. But it doesn't stop me from, when I'm on the phone, my 16th, 17th caller in, going, ugh, are you kidding me? Like, I've already answered this problem before, right? We've all heard that. We've all been there. We're humans. How do you guys avoid that feeling of, ugh, while you're on the phones and talking to a customer, and this is their first time calling in?
I've had it. I mean, I think we've shared in other episodes, we've all had that phone experience overall, and being that front line, it's exhausting. I will admit firsthand, I have done that. I've had those days, I say days plural, where I probably did not sound the best on the phone because it's a beat up of going through that cycle. But I always I framed it into task to complete, and that task is to make this interaction as painless and as best I can for whoever is on the other side of the interaction. If I was on the other side, I want this to be efficient. I don't want somebody to sound like they're annoyed. And it's the cheesy put yourself in the other shoes line, but it really can relate. And then the other piece is going back, and I would challenge myself, listen to your interaction. Listening to how you deliver a message after the fact is painful. I don't like it. I don't even like listening to myself ramble on these at times, because I'm like, gosh, I ramble a lot. But you learn from it, and just hearing your, no sunshine in your voice, that's a big push.
And I think there's a way to engineer ourselves through these daily interactions with our customers to help guide us internally to being a better human being overall, right? It's what you're outputting becomes what you input, or is it what you input, what you can, anyway, regardless of that, where I'm headed with it is positive language. And that helps me be able to conquer whatever challenge it is, whether it's work, whether it's at home, kids not listening, or in traffic, somebody's cutting me off, whatever the case is. I find myself, when I'm interacting and working with our customers, that I find myself using that positive language, and that's positive affirmation of handling a challenging situation. I kind of put an analogy here and an example. Let's say, we're working with a customer and they want to order something, and that we all have heard supply chain issues, post-pandemic. And one of those products is back ordered for a month. And my job is to relay this message. They've called in, they've researched it. The customers found their perfect item that they need, and in this amount of time, right? Our negative self language that, is very natural for all of us as human beings to really have would be something along the lines of, I can't get you that product until next month. It is back ordered and unavailable at this time. Well, you just shut me down. I'm not feeling great about this. Where, a simple change of pathway of how we communicate that positive language turns around into that product will be available next month. I can place the order for you right now and make sure that it is sent to you as soon as it reaches our warehouse. We said the same exact thing. There's no change in what the message was being delivered, but it's how it was framed up. And now from a customer standpoint, like, okay, that's great. You're doing what you can. You're owning up to what the issue is. And now here's the positive result, because it's a positive thing. They're going to get the product, whatever the case is, but it's redirecting in that conversation from a negative to a real positive place. How do you guys do that on a day in and day out basis when you're interacting with customers or clients or, whatever the case is?
Every time you're talking to someone, you are the voice of the brand that you're representing, right? And especially when you are a contractor, you are your own brand, right? So it's that impression that you're giving to others of who you are as a person, but also as a professional and as a brand. It's just being aware of that. It's just the awareness of, I am the voice of this company right now. If I'm taking the calls for example, that order that you were just talking about, how I phrase it, it's how that person is going to perceive the brand that I'm speaking on behalf of. So yeah, maybe just if sometimes it's hard when you're on the job and you're having to deliver this type of messages. Well, this one it's an easy one, but there are harder messages that you have to deliver. I remember working for a utility company and having blackouts, right? And having to take the calls from the people telling you like, the lights are out, what do I do? And having to take those all night long, for example. And that's when you need to be aware of that. I am the voice of this company right now. It's not like however I feel or however tired I am, it's irrelevant at this moment.
Yeah, not only could your like well-being be on the line, but it's not to sound like totally like negative in my response, but I mean that is a reality of it, how you interact and how you own a situation and resolve it. It's how you stand within your own image or your own company or your own whatever view you're in, and there's security within that. I kind of ask both of you, how do you in these situations where it is negative, how do you not go into an excuse method? We see that a lot, right? And I say excuse method like an excuse response. This is why this is happening. It's because of this. It's because of this. And it's not ownership. It's just excuse, and some sorries. How do you push yourself or maybe even push others to not fall into that?
This is such a great question. And it's one of the most difficult things to overcome. And it's something we're all working on. I'm guilty of not doing it myself, of finding the easy way out, right? We all do it. I mean, it's human nature, I think, at this point. But really, when you start to take a step back and you think about it, here's how I own that, and it goes back to our extreme ownership conversation of last week, is really just acknowledge that dilemma that's happening, and control the situation. It's really just refocusing the conversation. It's not something I did. I don't need to make an excuse for it. It's just the situation at hand. And then problem solve it, right? So it's not an excuse. It's, oh, the warehouse did this, or, oh, I can't believe that the company said that they would do this for you. That's not going to get us anywhere. It's just looking at the situation at hand. Let's work on solving the problem and just addressing it and acknowledging it. Okay, there's always going to be feelings tied into every situation, right? I know when I call in and I'm on hold for 45 minutes, my elevated blood pressure drives more and more like feelings. And a lot of time our customers call in like that, right? And, it's hard. We've got to go in, we got to control the situation, acknowledge it, refocus the conversation, and kind of turn it into a positive possibility, and then problem solve it as we're doing that. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do to fix the issue, and I'm going to lead you to where the light at the end of the tunnel is. I think that's my best pathway to avoid excuses. Diego, what is your pathway? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I think this whole industry is about problem solving, right? From the front lines on the phones to the executives pitching to new clients. Everything is problem solving. We're trying to solve something for someone. And what you just said is the right attitude to go at that, right? It's just looking at the scenario, knowing the possibilities, knowing the resources you have available, and trying to fix it with that, instead of going to like, oh, but I wish I had this, oh, but if only we had this other thing or this other resource available, this tool to create this. No, it's looking at what you have on the plate right now and what can I do to make it work So having that mentality, I think that's my approach at least.
And there's also just knowing that sometimes it's not excuse when you're delivering reasons. I think that is also the line to understand and know to kind of teeter-totter on, I guess we could call it. But sometimes here's why I missed this. Whether you're working with a client or you're working, representing some type of business, is okay, well, here are the reasons that led to this. But I'm not using those as, well, this is why, and I'm dumping it. But I'm going to have a plan of action, and I'm going to deliver a great response to this and a great ownership outside of it to give you that effortless experience so you don't have to worry about this again. We can understand, we can admit that we missed, but we can also make it painless for the future because we're going to learn from this. And to Joe's point earlier, if there are 17 calls happening for the same reason, yep, we're owning it. Something messed up, product messed up, something messed up. Got it. This is the reason why it happened. Something short in this case, but we've understood it now, and we already have a plan of action to fix it.
I like what you said as far as reasons are not excuses all the time, right? It depends on how you phrase them. It's like, oh, well, if that happened, yeah, it's an excuse. But if you're acknowledging the why, right? Everyone wants to know the why, as much as possible. I don't think we need to give every customer, okay, well, Joe Bear went in and put in the wrong note on this one, and that caused this issue to go down this pathway. True story of all that has happened. So thank you all for out there for cleaning up those messes from my ill-timed notes. But really what it comes down to is we acknowledge the problem, we give it the why, the what's in it for me, and that resolution. But I think it's how we communicate that message as well. I've been in this industry long enough, and something that really just, I'm going to throw it out there, grinds my gears. We all say it. I need empathy from you, but it's really sympathy. It's the I'm sorry, unfortunately. Those are my two words and phrases that drive me bananas because they're the most ingenuine layers of ownership that there really are. I'll be the first one to admit when I say I'm sorry on a call, I'm probably not. I'm just doing it because my quality assurance team is listening in and says, you must say I'm sorry. Well, I can say it as, oh man, that's one big issue there. I would love to help solve this problem with you. If you're willing to go on this journey with me, let's find you a problem solved today, right? I'm acknowledging it. I'm saying I'm sorry. I'm saying in empathy. I'm putting myself in your shoes, and I'm giving you the why at the end of that to where we're headed. I think is a much stronger, more powerful phrase than saying, I'm sorry. Now I need you to go do this, right? I don't know. What do you guys feel? Empathy, sympathy?
I think one of the biggest mistakes we make, is confusing empathy for sympathy, right? And a few years ago, when I left my first BPO thing, and I went to advertising, to an advertising agency, and they were like starting with social media, so this is a while ago, and they didn't know how to respond to customers or to people talking to the brands there. And one of the first things that we did was start building the characters, the personas for those brands. And so that we could understand what's the personality. So how does this brand speak, and what are the words that they use, and what are the phrases that they will use so that they will connect better with those customers. And I think it just goes to that, right? The real empathy is someone you can connect with, someone that you can identify with, someone that you can relate to, because at the end of the day, it's not, I'm sorry, this is what is going on, and this is how we're going to fix it. That doesn't get you anywhere. What really gets you somewhere is someone that you can feel like you were cut from the same ice, and that's why we're going to work it out.
From the same ice, I like that. I think sorry is a filler word now. It's become like a like or words you probably hear often from us, but it doesn't hold its value as much as I think others may see it as. There's more power in even just rephrasing, saying what the customer is telling you and showing that you understand it, and that you can, to your point, Diego, that you can have that relate and that relationship to what's going on. Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. Even that phrase, that doesn't really go as much anymore. Like you're just kind of, it's like the kind of blowing off the steam to get on to the next thing. I mean, we hear it from, in a business standpoint too, on a call, in a chat. Sorry, I'm on my next, I'm gonna be late to the call. I'm on something right now. Sorry, I was reading an email. I didn't get that. Sorry. It's just this thing. What are we apologizing for?
It's probably like, if we put it in a layer of empathy scale, it's probably like level 1, right? We're taught at a young age of say you're sorry, right? You know, like, I'm sorry I hit you with a wiffle ball bat. I'm sorry, I won't do it again, right? It's you know, those types of things, and we carry that on as, okay, well, that's acknowledging I did something probably not in the common norm of it all. You know, but every time I hear I'm sorry, you know, especially when calling into customer service itself, it almost feels like the agent, when I'm calling in, and not here, but, you know, other places I've called in, it says, I'm sorry. At least you're not dealing with what my last caller had to deal with. Like, you know, that was a doozy, right? You know, and that's where I feel like I'm leading into is, okay, well, I'm not the worst problem you've had today. And you're like, ah, thank goodness. But it's, you're just trying to get me off the line at that point in time where we're just moving on. You're trying to hit your metrics and you're trying to, okay, I just need to hit my check marks and I'm done, right? I did everything that we were supposed to do. And speaking of quality assurance, you know, I understand that there's a need for it. We are in an industry that's probably one of the most highly metricked industries out there. Everything is graded, everything is analyzed, it's deep dived, it's gone through there. You know, I've looked at quality many times throughout my career. I think it's got to get simpler. I don't know about you guys. These like mandatory check marks, you can tell when you call in a customer service when it's, oh, you need to follow these 30 things. Like, you could just hear it. Oh, check mark. Oh, check mark. Like, that had no relevance to the conversation whatsoever. And you just threw something at me, and I'm like, well, that's left field. Well, now I need to think about something else to bring to the table. What are you guys' feelings as far as, you know, how do we deliver a quality experience without a quality 90 miles an hour or 90-mile long form?
I started off with verification process. Some of the times you get verified in the IVR, and then you get a person, and then you're verifying again, and I get the security component behind it. But then, gosh, by that point, I feel like I'm almost frustrated. Why are we validating or verifying so much? But yeah, I agree for the quality form.
Yeah, all these are great conversations and sparks, and we would love to hear all of your opinions on how to make customer service better. And, you know, what are your thought processes? If you're on the front lines and you're doing it, you know, drop us a line at btb@oiteam.com. What are we missing? You know, we're always trying to make our experiences better for our consumers, and that's by making the experience better for you as well. You know, or what's a hot take? Maybe you didn't agree with something we said, and that's okay too. And we've got to figure that out, and good conversation is what drives this. This has been a great conversation as, you know, what to do for our customers and owning that conversation. You know, we talk about metrics a lot, and a lot of it is HT. Well, you can lower your HT by actually doing a little bit more, being prepared and having those conversations ahead of time, leading them to a resolution at the end of the day, being present and aware, not at sorry, at least you had didn't have as worse problem as the last caller type mantra, and then we can keep on going forward. Any last words for, you know, speaking to customers at this point from either one of you?
No, just be a person.
Be a person.
Show you care.
Show you care. When you care enough to send the very best, you are delivering the very best. All right. Well, let's quick pick'em time. Who's got a quick pick'em? I'm starting it off usually, so I'm gonna throw it out. Who's dropping the first line?
I have a question. Ready, hot and ready. Talking about great customer service and delivering, you're going to a restaurant. How long without a reservation are you going to wait when they say your table won't be ready for? What is your cutoff? Is it dependent on the restaurant? Are you going to wait it out?
All right. Yeah. If it's that nice of a restaurant, I'm going to have reservations to begin with.
Yep.
If I'm just popping in somewhere and they're like, oh, it's a 2-hour wait. If they have a bar, I'll just go sit at the bar. I'll eat my food and move on. I'll experience it all. I don't need a table, whatever the case is. And there's no way I'm waiting in your lobby for 2 hours. Unless there's like a nice area to go get drinks or something to do down the road, and this is where I wanted to eat and there was no bar area. That's kind of my hot take. Probably 30 minutes would probably be the most I would wait at this point.
I don't know. I don't like 20 minutes, 15 minutes the most. If not, just move on, go somewhere else. Unless it is like something I've been wanting to try for a long time and I'm only there that one day or something like that. Like it has to be something super special for me to say like, all right, sign me up on your list. I'll wait.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you go to places like the Cheesecake Factory that they don't do the reservations. I know we have a spot around here and people are just waiting for hours for it. And I'm like, okay, I've been there. Cheesecake is good. It's great. But yeah, I'm with you. 20 minutes. I even get a little frustrated when I have a reservation and have to wait that long. Like I'm food centered. Probably could already can tell. So
Love it. I got one question for you both, and I was planning on this one. I know we got to go. But if you were to sum up an expected customer service experience in a 6 to 8 word title of a PowerPoint slide, how would you summarize customer service?
I know Diego wants to go first for this one.
Yeah, actually good at this from creating content, but I'm actually not. I have no idea how to call that PowerPoint.
Let's see.
I'll start it off. Give you time to think here. Be genuine, be prepared, and smile.
I would
Exactly what I
say
was gonna say.
deliver fast results without any blood shed or
Also what
tears.
I was gonna say.
Bloodshed is one word, so bloodshed or tears.
Customer service is not a battleground, Zach. I mean, goodness.
I don't know. You know, love is a battlefield, or so we heard in the 80s or 90s, wherever that song came out.
Sure. All right. Any
Not
other?
sure if that could be used on a business presentation, though. So maybe I'll just simplify it and just say deliver great results without the pain.
Ask
Okay.
you the last one instead of giving you a title. Hear from you both. What is one brand that you identify with?
One brand. Oh gosh. I'm trying to think here.
The older I get, the less brand centric I have become. So this is a challenging question for me. Whew.
You brand with yourself with Costco. Do you want to call Costco a brand?
Yeah, let's do it. Kirkland Signature is my brand. Great quality, low price, and there's always a treasure hunt of, wow, I can't believe Costco brought this in. Yeah, we'll go with that. Thanks, Zach.
I feel like I'm just like the easiest thing for me to think of or say is I feel like I'm the stereotype like Apple person. Like I like the looks of everything they do, the dynamics. I know the argument it's a argument that'll go on for days and days between Android and Apple, but for me it's just like the look. Like everything they do is clean.
That's great. And Diego, what's your brand that you identify with?
I think the one I identify with the most is this cycling brand called Rafa. Super aspirational, and but what I like is that it's not like your competition, super performance oriented brand, and it's more like, hey, ride bikes, this is the lifestyle, and that's it.
All right, I dig it. I see that for sure. Absolutely. All right, this has been a great conversation today. One of my most passionate, I think, for all of us as we are in this industry and we've continued to look into the worlds of customer service and how do we continue to change that into the future. With that, I'd like to drop a quote from probably some of the best customer service out there, and it's from Don Hall Jr., who was the Hallmark CEO at one point in time. No matter the size of the community or our efforts, we are honored to be able to enrich lives in ways that multiply even the smallest acts of caring, where one pebble of effect spreading the impact of the greater good. With that, as always, hashtag keep learning and let us know what you're learning about too. Please send us your emails at btb@oiteam.com. Please like and subscribe to our channel. That's going to help us grow and share this content with more and more people out there. And if you would like to let us know what you want to hear about, again, btb@oiteam.com. Join us next week as we continue on our conversation into communication with peer-to-peer conversations. With that, I am Joe Bear, and for my hosts, Zach and Diego, this is Behind the Beard. Hashtag Omniverse to the moon. And this is Behind the Beard.
Oh.
I'm so glad we have that on recording.